All right. Hello and welcome everyone to another Builds Refresh video. We got a handful of new augments, and today we're going to talk about what is definitely the best of them and turns STYANAX from being just kind of an all-rounder into what I firmly believe is just really a support Warframe. Good in his own right, but a support that is possibly on the level of Wisp in terms of what it provides at this point. That is due to a new augment that STYANAX has access to, which fixes a lot of things about STYANAX, and that is Intrepid Stand. Intrepid Stand is each javelin that damages an enemy grants 60 overguard to STYANAX and 30 overguard to his allies within affinity range. So, with this build, that starts at 160 overguard per enemy, notably damaged. The javelins do explode, and that does count whenever you are throwing, and 56 of them. Each enemy that it hits will give you this overguard, and that is applied at half effectiveness to all of your allies that are even kind of close to you. This, in Steel Path, will commonly, with this build at least, give you upwards of 100,000 overguard very quickly, which means your allies get like 50,000. So even if your ally is Banshee, they're going to be fine defensively. There are currently a couple of bugs with this and a few things that don't work in niche situations, such as combat discipline won't trigger if you've got overguard right now, but stuff like that is kind of minor and is probably going to be, bug fixed eventually, so I'm not too worried about it. The main thing is that if STYANAX is being allowed to do his thing, he is going to make basically the whole team nearly impossible to kill at any regular or even pretty irregular level of content. And that is on top of the other stuff that my build for STYANAX was already doing. We go for Nourish on STYANAX now, and that is because Nourish gives us an energy multiplier, which is that 3.67 at this power strength. I do have augmented, so it's actually 60% higher than that eventually. But at the start of the mission, we get Rally Point, which generates 8 energy a second for us and our entire party. So all of us are getting 8 energy per second, and then whenever also allies are affected by Nourish, they also get this energy multiplier, so you and all of your allies are pretty much generating 40 energy a second constantly. On top of that, you still, of course, have Thero Strike, which is an excellent armor strip for STYANAX if that comes up on enemies that need it in many different game modes, while doing good damage, because Final Stand is, pretty good at Steel Path levels of damage, and now it has all the defensive properties that it's giving out too. That comes together to basically just be extremely, extremely good. Just truly excellent. You generate enough energy that the 155 energy on Final Stand is not a big deal whenever you're doing Nourish plus Rally Point, because by the time Final Stand is done casting, you pretty much have generated all the energy from it back, which is great. On top of that, this is actually the first Warframe that I'm using Molt Efficiency alongside Molt Augmented. Because of the Overguard, it's very, very unlikely that our shields are going to be popped, or at least not very frequently, so the extra 36% duration is just more javelins for us to throw whenever that's built up. And it is worth noting, on this build, I only have 3 regular red shards to throw around. I would just go 5 duration shards on him if you have them. I've got 3 here. I had 0 whenever I was testing this build initially, and it's more than fine. Don't need shards at all for this, but if you have them, it's just going to make it so you have to cast Nourish less, you have to cast Rally Point less, and you're going to throw more javelins, so the more duration shards you throw in, the better it gets. But yeah, this is really, really nice. Due to the changes with Overguard also giving you an Overguard gate, essentially, a real notable thing about this is that whenever you are damaging enemies with javelins, because that's constantly generating Overguard for you, it means you can't die while you're casting your 4 as long as you are hitting something, because you're going to keep getting half a second of invulnerability. And that's nice. Even at high levels, not dying while you're in your 4 turns out is really good, even if the Overguard you'll be generating at really high levels, and we're talking level 1,000 plus here, is probably going to get destroyed pretty quickly, because you don't generate it obscenely fast. You don't generate it a huge million Overguard all at once like Rhino does or anything of that nature. Anyway, though, let's just show this off, because it's pretty good. Always want to cast your 3 first, and then your 1, which is Nourish at this point. Then from there, we can kind of just throw javelins, and you can see the number go. About 10,000. You do have to touch the ground again. And you can see that the damage output here is quite nice. Though I think these are level 100 enemies, because we were taking pity on Varuna's augment. That's a spoiler maybe for another video. But yeah, let's bump that up to 195, actually. So you can see the damage at a bit of a higher level. It's pretty similar. The 20,000 Overguard is really good. Overguard having the good status immunity now also really helps with that. Yeah, good. It's pretty good. Getting 27,000 Overguard with STYANAX and being able to, have multi-efficiency and all this stuff work with it. It's solid. You're pretty much just using your 4 in missions. That's giving consider all of my allies in a mission, unless they're obscenely far away, would have gotten 12,000 Overguard in this case. In the case of just killing 40 enemies, that's 12,000 Overguard. Granted, one of the things about this build is that because your 4 is, actually a good ability that kills enemies, generally you will generate way less Overguard than this, at least early on in missions, because the enemies will just die in 1 javelin, and whenever they just die in 1 javelin, you're only going to get 160-ish Overguard from the 1 guy. Whenever multiple javelins can hit multiple enemies, that's whenever you're getting the nice numbers like this, but that also means that it scales well to enemy group size. But the thing you'll have to watch out for is if you're fighting just 1 guy, you're not going to have nearly as much defense. But just fighting 1 guy is not exactly a common situation in Warframe overall. And the other big benefits to this build are still there. We're out here, whenever we're doing this, we are generating such an absurd amount of energy between Nourish and Rally Point for the whole team. We're doing EV Trinity plus a Warframe that can DPS, and then we're giving out the Overguard, and we have a built-in armor strip when we need it, and it is just a really excellent support toolbox that can stand on its own. That feels pretty competitive with Wisp. Obviously, there are other things about STYANAX that cannot compete with Wisp and will not, but it is a huge boost. It is honestly exactly what STYANAX needed. And it's the thing that I never would have thought to give him, if I'm honest, because it is, pushing him in a very much, this is a support Warframe now direction, which is quite odd. Anyway, let's jump into some Steel Path stuff. It will not have any problems, I'll tell you that. Okay, jumping in here. There's one main note about jumping into here. In terms of Acolytes, STYANAX's 4 does a good job of killing Acolytes. Not the fastest thing in the world, but it can kill Acolytes, so that's quite nice. The main deal with killing those Acolytes, though, is that if you run into the Acolyte that looks like Frost, I think his name is Malice, if he puts the bubble on you, you will throw your javelins at yourself. So that is my main thing, is that in addition to Violence, who is, normally a problem for pretty much, all Warframes, really, turning off all your abilities, then you're also going to have the problem of running into Malice. Also, you can see the much lower gain that we're going to get off the bat here, though the higher enemy count is going to help with that too, because we are going to be considerably over just 20 enemies like we can get in the Simulacrum. Yeah, we did an initial test of this mission on stream, and we ended up pretty reasonably. We were, we got up to 300k. Obviously, I think this build could go quite long in this mission. So I foresee people being able to, commonly in a longer survival, being able to look and get 1 million or so Overguard pretty regularly, which is, we're talking about Rhino numbers whenever Rhino is doing the full build to generate Overguard. So this is very nice. And if you generate 1 million Overguard for yourself, that means that your team got 500,000, which is, it's a thing that we're not going to see here. That's why I keep stating it, is that this is a support skill. This augment not only fixes the survivability issues that STYANAX would regularly have since losing the ability to multicast while he's flying around throwing javelins, but in addition to that, it is a support skill. If you were running around and if you were helping a new player, for example, and you just kind of wanted to be able to let them play, you would be able to just, like, run around as STYANAX and just, like, use your 3 and your 1, and really just, like, give them infinite energy and, like, you know, kind of do, like, that new player babysitter thing and just, like, let them have fun, which is a thing that a lot of players, you know, if you are introducing a friend to the game, you want your friend to have fun. So playing a support frame is really nice for that, but a lot of people don't want to be like, oh, I'll heal you if you get hurt. But this allows you to, like, give them a lot of different benefits if you're just, like, chilling around. Also, if anything goes badly, you get to throw 1,000,000 spears. Yeah, we already have like 118,000 overguard, which is fantastic. Oh yeah, also the Forma on this build, it is actually 2 less Forma than I have shown in the arsenal. It's actually, it might be 3 less, actually. Because I did have to reforma from what my old build was, because my old build used Adaptation, but Adaptation doesn't work on overguard. So we have no reason to have it, so Adaptation was pretty much directly replaced with this new augment. Yeah, it is very nice. It is an absolutely, like, just stellar thing. And, like, because your damage output is actually good, in terms of, you know, a lot of the time you're going to spend in the mission, not really being hurt. And weirdly, this actually also hedges against stuff like Violence. Like, Violence would normally give you, you know, some trouble. And he still will. Like, turning off your abilities means you won't be able to throw spears at him, right? But he can't dispel you having Overguard, because this Overguard is not, like, it's not like a persisting ability. It's not like an effect. You've just gained it. So you can't, like, Rhino, Violence can, like, just turn your 2 off, basically. There's no ability to turn off here. You just have Overguard. So Violence doesn't do shit. Violence has to actually kill you through it. Which, to be fair, for Acolytes, not actually that hard. 200,000 Overguard is a lot less than it seems like it is. The number is just very impressive. But it is important that, like, you kind of will just be able to really easily deal with Violence if you have a decent gun to do so. Because even without being able to throw your spears at them, you know, they got to deal with you with a lot of EHP. It is all. I will say it is mysterious, though, that this augment would be released. And while we're looking at Kullervo, who just went from having a cap of 5,000 to having a cap that's affected by strength of 10,000 for Overguard, that's a bit of a weird one. But the other buffs to Kullervo kind of tell me that Overguard is more of like a top for Kullervo, and you're kind of supposed to health tank with him. And Kullervo, I also think, is quite good at this point, too, so not a huge deal. I don't think Kullervo's having many problems in content, because in terms, like, if you looked at, like, Kullervo versus what STYANAX is up to, obviously there's the support and stuff that STYANAX offers, but in terms of the damage output, Kullervo does some pretty insane stuff. Hey, we have our Acolyte showing up. Who would like spears? Misery would like spears.
Welcome to the club, buddy.
Misery would like no armor, no shields, spears. Oh, there we go. He is dead now. A reminder that your 2 also gets rid of all shields. So Acolytes show up and then they get to be absolutely naked and then get hit with spears. It is quite effective. Yeah, we're up over that, like, 300,000 now. I don't actually know what we're going to get to, because the first time I did this, I found out about the Malice thing. Not Malice. You know, it is Malice. The Malice thing where you can reflect your spears into yourself, which got rid of all of the Overguard I had built up, because they hurt. So I don't know what we're going to actually end up at. I mean, at this rate, we'll probably end up at least 500,000, I'd suspect, but hard to exactly say. I will say, if you don't feel like you need to go way more duration on this build, because the duration is pretty comfortable, even with just like these 3 shards. A thing that you could consider is actually casting speed, and that's mostly for like whenever you need to re-up the 1 and the 2. Like, because I don't think this build's going to have any energy problems or anything like that. If you just wanted to make the like downtime whenever you're having to recast those abilities quick, I could also see that being of value. Just as like another option, especially because I assume most of you, like me, even if you're farming it every week, are like always low on red shards. Red shards are just the eternal need. Like, I've wanted to put 5 duration shards on Octavia for ages, but, you know, I don't have 5 extra shards to throw on Octavia. Yeah, this is just so nice. And just to talk about the changes to Overguard, one of the biggest things for Overguard, just in general, is the total status immunity on all the frames that get Overguard now makes it so that your Overguard's not getting eaten alive by stuff like slash procs, which was a big problem for Kullervo, and is very much not really a problem now, because you don't get slash proc. The slash procs are very good for both the enemies and for us. Yeah, this is like just so good. It's also worth noting, if you take this into Steel Path Circuit, your 4 actually scales with a lot of the things in Steel Path Circuit, especially stuff like Close Contagion is absolutely outrageous. But even outside of that, there's like tons of things that will increase the damage of your 4. Oh, speaking of that, and I'm sure actually, well, by the time I'm saying it now at this part of the video, I'm sure some people will have already commented it. There is a consideration that instead of the Molt Duration augment that Arcane that I'm using, you can use Arcane Arachne. Arcane Arachne increases the damage of your spears by 150%, so you do, you know, 2.5 times the damage. But the trigger for that is that you wall latch. You do that every 30 seconds, which is annoying. And even though it makes your spears do way more damage, I personally don't find much of a need for it. Like, personally, I think it's like kind of whatever. Like, if you find that your spears aren't doing enough damage and you, for whatever reason, have a set of Arachne, it'll make them do way more damage. But yeah, it's mostly just annoying. Oh, Angst is going to have no shot whatsoever. Here you are. Pop. Yeah, STYANAX does not need their 2 for the vast majority of regular enemies, which is excellent because your 2 has a very low range at base. But whenever acolytes and stuff show up, fuck them. It looks like we're not getting to that 500,000, but we'd get there given a little more time. Yeah, really good stuff. I think the flash was this way. Yeah, really, really nice. Like, I mean, the math, like, given any frame that has even slightly questionable survivability, if you give them 200,000 Overguard, which is what this build would have done over the course of this mission so far, they suddenly have no real survivability concerns pretty much at all, which is just great. And for a lot of frames, like, it'll mean that, like, the thing that they normally do is just, like, not really helping anyone. Like, to be super clear, the thing that Wisp does is mostly just going to be a little bit of attack speed if you put her in a mission with this STYANAX, because that health and that healing is pretty low in the face of how much Overguard you're going to be able to give out. But yeah. Oh yeah, also I was re-leveling STYANAX there. That's also a consideration, because I had formed him to this state previously. Almost got to 30, probably should have stayed a little bit longer, but I don't think it matters much. All right. Hello, everyone. It's been month 2 of the Streamathon, but more YouTube videos are on the way. And for that, thanks especially to all of the patrons that are supporting the channel: Alex Barnum, Angel SPM, Arbiter Daydream, Benuvin, Brutus Salazar, Dylan Dworsky, Ethrain, Hafan, IQ is Thick, James Harsthorn, JC4 Science, Jesse Richens, John Lobdill, Joshua Adams, Luzanth, Alec X Williams, Minty Ginja, Mitchta, Hermoxidate, Rena Valentine, Tamarilic Wastelander, The Coupon of Death, Waifu Wars, Zach Zaner, and Zerafir, and of course, all of the $5 patrons and the $2 patrons as well. Thank you very much, everyone, for the support. It has been incredible. There are so many of you now. And yeah, expect a lot more videos and stuff after the Streamathon is over. We're going to get way back into the free-to-play through and the huge guides that I've been trying to write for the site and everything. So expect a lot of that to be going on in the near future.